Hi, I'm Kelly Jackson, and this is Waupaca Local Live. I can hardly find your face in this dark and lonely place. Well, I reach back into my memories, try to find a place we used to be, but now that's gone, and I'm not that strong. Feels like I'm waiting, anticipating, aching, waiting. Somebody wake me, shake me, make me find myself again. I hardly even know who I am. Feels like I'm standing still. Feels like I'm searching for something, but I don't know what it is. And there was a time when I would live my life for what each day would give, but now that's gone, and I'm not that strong. And here I'm waiting, anticipating, aching, waiting. Somebody wake me, shake me, make me find myself again. I hardly even know who I am, who I am, who I am. Feels like I'm standing still. Feels like I'm searching for something, but I don't know what it is. And there was a time when I would live my life for what each day would give. Now that's gone, and I'm not that strong. And still I'm waiting, anticipating, aching, waiting. Somebody wake me, shake me, make me find myself again. I hardly even know who I am. Feels like I'm standing still. Feels like I'm searching for something, but I don't know what it is. And there was a time when I would live my life for what each day would give. Now that's gone, and I'm not that strong. And here I'm waiting, anticipating, aching, waiting. Somebody wake
edition. I'm Marcy Boku.
And I'm Barb Ladkey.
And we're really happy to be here. We have a special guest tonight. We have Kelly Jackson. And Kelly is from Madison, and she brought a couple of players with her. She's going to be doing some of her native indigenous music tonight. And I know that this is dated if you're watching the video in Futureland, but she just played last night at South Park to just a fantastic crowd, and people loved her. We've been getting rave reviews, and so we're excited to hear another side of Kelly tonight.
Yeah, and your first song tonight that you played, Waiting, to learn more about you, so now you're going to be able to tell us about who you are. I know you're questioning in that song who you are, but
oh yeah,
I'm sure
exactly.
you figured it out, and now you get to share it. So.
You got it figured out now? Still working on that.
Would you like to introduce your bandmates first?
Of course, I have Michael Wilmot, also known as the Saxy Wizard, but today he's not playing saxophone.
He was a sax.
He was a saxophone, yes. We were definitely rocking it last night. Today he's definitely decorating our musical flavor, if you will, with some Native American flute. So
I like that word decorating. That's very Baroque.
it is like frosting. I love the sound of native flutes, and actually it's not just native flutes. If you check out my albums, both of them have flutes from around the world that were used, and just some spectacular musicians that Peter Fippen played on my first and second album. He's an incredible flute player and plays, like I said, flutes from all over the world. And then Michael obviously has joined my team when Peter Fippen is not available. Michael is the side man on the stage.
So I don't mean to get down the rabbit hole right away, but we are calling that a flute, but it looks like a recorder.
Oh, this is
So, do we call
actually
it
an Irish whistle.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Very interesting.
And we have on guitar.
We have Doug Syme. He is from Milwaukee area, and Doug and I have been doing some really fun duo projects together as well. And so we have some local duo projects coming up in the southwestern mid part of Wisconsin so far. So Doug and I are just getting to know each other, and I am throwing him into my original music just because I think he's incredibly talented, and I'm looking forward to working more with him.
Awesome, awesome.
Kelly, it seems like you are working in a lot of different genre with music. What's your favorite one? Or don't you have?
Ooh, I don't have a favorite. And I think the truth is that I'm very mood orientated. So I think if I'm really feeling like I want to, have a glass of wine and sit down in front of the fireplace, I want to listen to some sultry jazz and blues. That's, sort of my favorites are Melody Gardot and Etta James. And
You mentioned that last night.
yes, I'm definitely a connoisseur of indigenous, native artists, but also just female artists in general. So I don't have a favorite, but I certainly appreciate all kinds of
And
music.
you're playing a lot of different.
Right.
Genres.
You're playing a lot of different genres. I think that's what you're.
Yes.
I think at one point, one of you, I think on our questionnaire, you listed yourself as Americana, but there's a lot of different descriptions of you depending on where you look.
Yeah.
And actually, you are playing a lot of different genres. So
For sure. I think that's really been, music has been a form of medicine for me. So just sort of think about whatever your immediate need is at that time to make your spirit sort of glow or feel better. It sort of comes down to finding whatever genre that vibe might be. And so I find myself dabbling in just about every genre, so including hip hop and
I read.
oh yeah, with the latest video.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So collaborating with other artists has definitely made my view of the world and music much broader.
Is that the latest video hip hop?
It's well,
I can see
No,
this.
I mean-
I'm not up on all the latest terms.
Yeah, and see,
It's
this is-
definitely not a folk song.
No, it's definitely not. And I think people have a hard time describing my music as I do. So sometimes I say Americana because it's sort of the catch-all. Like you can play a little bit of everything, and since my music is heavily influenced with indigenous spirit, right? It may not necessarily be the story or the content, but music, instrumentation, sort of the vibe or vocalization always has some of those influences included. So for sure, Wake Up was, is sort of, it's definitely a different, little bit of a pop or hip hop beat, but the spoken word in what Wake Up is a powerful piece and is performed by Theodore Yancey, also known as Thee, and he is an incredible songwriter. and had some really powerful contributions to that song. So we definitely wanted to include that in the final, and it just turned out to be an incredible, beautiful mix of culture, community, and thought when it came to environmental consciousness.
Right, I appreciate the topic, and actually, we have posted that video on
I was just going to say that
Waupaca Local Live
good.
Facebook page, so check it out, and we've also got Kelly's website there where she's got just everything on the website, so you've got to check it out. And last night was really a completely different genre, and several genres last night.
Yes, last night, and this is the glorious part about playing with a whole bunch of really talented musicians. So I developed a project 2 years ago, right before the pandemic. I really wanted to start dabbling in what was one of my favorite medicines, which is sort of the funk, blues, jazz, soul feeling. But I had not lived and breathed, and I guess breathed in that environment. So I needed to learn it. I needed to spend some time learning about other musicians and getting to know how to write in that genre, because my next album will be very much influenced by that genre. So last night was a funk, blues, rock, jazz infusion.
It really was.
Yes,
Well, you're succeeding in that genre because it was, people were blown away. I want to back up just a little to how you started in music. How young were you? Were you trained in music? Did you always want to be a musician? Can you talk about that?
It's a very interesting story. I don't know that I wanted to be a musician, but my father was a musician, so I was just required to be a musician at about 5. He liked to sing, but he didn't, sing a lot. So he was always making me sing, different random songs. And I feel like the first time that I ever got a guitar, my father gave it to me. And quite honestly, my real father passed away when I was 3. So, when I call this gentleman my father, he's really my uncle.
Okay.
And so he really kind of took me under his wing, and he really gave me a love for music. So he played things like Johnny Cash and Patsy Cline. So I kind of grew up in that era of music. And then, they were also quick to flip the guitar over and turn it into a hand drum, so you'd be like, way, yeah, oh, way, yeah. So just about any song that Johnny Cash sings, we can turn it into a heavily native influenced song. So
I love that. That was good. And that was just a taste of it. That's nice.
yeah, so I think that was the introduction. And then I guess throughout my life, I played in different bands and everything from country to, even a little rock, heavy metal.
All your life, since you were a kid, teenager?
Yeah, teenager for sure. I got my electric guitar. I really couldn't do much more than turn the distortion really up, really loud, and just strum the guitar. But it seemed to work out when I was younger. It wasn't really, honestly though. And I had written my first song when I was 11 years old, and performed for our school. It was G.D. Jones in Waupaca, Wisconsin. So it was my first original song performance. And it was called Rock and Roll-A-Bye Baby. I couldn't sing it for you today, but that was the name of my first song. And that just launched it. I all of a sudden had notebooks of songs. And then in 2007, 8, a new chapter of my life. I got divorced, which for many of us can be very challenging. You're kind of newly exploring who you are as this individual person. And I kind of looked in the mirror one day and said, what do you want to do when you grow up, Kelly Jackson? And I said, I want to be a rock star. So as ridiculous as it was, and I don't exactly know how old I was, but I'm like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to take a bunch of the songs that I had written. I'm going to go into the studio and I'm going to record it. And it was really just sort of a legacy piece. And it turned into this beautiful journey through music and professional training. No, not until I got into trouble. After my Spirit of a Woman tour, I developed adenoids, and so I had to learn what I was doing wrong and how I was. Also, it was great because I learned how to breathe.
How did you go about getting a professional training?
Well, it really honestly is part of my health insurance, and I was like, hey, if I can get professional singing,
Nice.
But because I had a medical issue with my vocal cords and my profession was a musician, it was just a natural thing to do. So no, but all my writing has really been, and people ask that too, how do you write a song? Sometimes I write the music first, sometimes I have an idea.
Sure.
Usually it's the music and it sort of drives the feeling to where you're going. But sometimes I just really deep and I need to write a song about a particular subject. And then I just, work through that process.
I love hearing people's process because they're all fairly similar. I mean, in the 5 years we've done this show, and it's my process too. And so I think it's just interesting because it's very organic. It's everything.
Yes.
Not every song is a formula. In fact, probably for your songs, none of them are formulas. But if it's an idea or it's a tune in your head or both or whatever. And speaking of songs, we should probably have you do another one.
Yes, absolutely.
All right?
Yeah.
What are you going to do next?
I want to do a song called Mirror. This song is actually a song I wrote. Most of my music is about self-reflection.
Okay.
And honestly, it's sort of about, as you walk through life on a various path, sometimes you find yourself not really sure, how to individualize yourself or maybe even blend more. So you're constantly sort of looking in the mirror and wondering, is this, really who I am or want to be? And so it just takes you through this journey of, music and understanding yourself. And sometimes it's okay to realize that you're on a broken path and that can shape who you are too. So,
All right.
Well, I'll be listening to the lyrics for that.
all
Kelly
right.
Jackson.
I've been walking on the side of a broken road. I've been passing people that I know. With so many people, I blend into the seas. Well, I get lost, trying to find me. When you look in the mirror, do you like what you see? Does she look away and wonder, well, is that you really see? I've been searching for something more for such a long time. I forgot what I'm searching for, and I keep wondering who is ahead of me and how am I find a better place to be. When you look in the mirror, do you like what you see? Does she look away and wonder, well, is that you really see? Well, is that you really see? Keep stepping, I keep moving on. It's time I accepted all the road that I'm on. Well, I've been trying, to be so many others, that I'm just tired of trying to discover. When you look in the mirror, do you like what you see? Does she look away wonder, well, is that you really see? Well, is that you really see? Is that you, how you really see? Oh, oh, yeah. How, ooh, oh.
We'd like to learn a little bit more about these two fellows with you tonight. So,
Sure, yeah.
okay, I was fascinated last night listening to you play the sax. I thought, this guy's so good, and now tonight you're in this. So can you give us a little bit about yourself, Michael?
About myself?
And in your history with music, so.
For sure. I mean, I started playing music when I was 8. I learned piano, got piano lessons. And then I started playing saxophone when I was 10, and I've never stopped. I went through jazz mostly in middle school, high school, college. I ended up dropping out of college.
The public school system jazz department helped you get going.
It certainly
All right.
did, yeah.
Good job.
Yeah.
What school district were you in?
Well, I went to Arrowhead High School.
Yeah, by Waupaca.
Yeah.
Nice. And so you focus on saxophone and then indigenous wind instruments? Or?
Yeah, well, so I just started playing in Kelly's band, Kelly Jackson Band, as a humble saxophone player. And then, she had a situation where she didn't have a flute player, and I'm like, it can't be that much different than a saxophone,
Sure.
right?
There you go. I was wondering, that's what I was hoping to get, the connection there.
Yeah, so she had a native flute that somebody had gifted her, so I started with that, and then she ended up taking me to meet Peter Vippen and Victoria, and they trained me how to do it. They sold me this flute right here, as well as another native flute, and gifted me a flute as well.
And now you can go into Irish music too. So
Yeah, exactly.
Doug, what do you want to tell us about yourself?
Oh gosh.
How'd you meet Kelly and how'd you get connected?
With Kelly and I, it was a couple of years ago. We were playing a place called, another girl singer I worked with who just moved to North Carolina, and I were working at a place called Smokies in Manitowish Waters.
Wow.
And so Kelly comes in there. We work for Mrs. Uline, for the Uline Corporation. And so. Oh, and I know we weren't, oops.
Yeah, you know what?
I wasn't supposed to say replacement. But this is an
That's
older
okay.
gig, so okay. And so Kelly comes in. I don't want to tell the embarrassing part of the story, but my girl singer had a little bit of an emergency. Kelly helped her take care of the emergency without embarrassing her, but then in the meantime, she was like, well, I'll just do a song with you. And I'm like,
Oh, nice. I'll do it.
and I'm like,
Who the
okay.
heck are you?
So we did Janis Joplin's Me and Bobby McGee.
Oh.
And I was kind of like, this girl's pretty darn good. So we exchanged numbers, and
I hope the other girl wasn't out then.
Wished you-
no. No, and I really didn't think anything of it. And then Memorial Day weekend, Allie got stuck in Puerto Rico, and I get a call Friday, and the gig is, of course, Saturday night. And she's like, well, I'm in Puerto Rico, and I can't make it back. And I'm like,
Where's that number I have?
yeah. And so I actually called a couple other singers, and of course, it's Memorial Day weekend. Everybody in Milwaukee is working. Oh, yeah, I'd love to help you out. I got a gig. Well, Kelly happened to be taking care of her nephew, I believe, right? Mm-hmm. And she was in Duluth, and she's like, yeah, I could use the night off. So I'd love to come over. And
Ooh, that was serendipitous, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
so that was it. And it worked out really, really well.
Really cool story.
Because by the end of the first set, the management was looking at me, and they're like,
Yeah,
who is
Want you
that?
back. Oh.
I'm like, oh, yeah, Kelly's good.
Excellent.
So Manitowish Waters.
Yeah, well, in my homelands.
Is that where you're from, really?
Well, I'm from Lac du Flambeau. Certainly that community is very near and dear and home to me. and Manitowish Waters is just north of there. So the whole northern part of Wisconsin, including Gitchagami, which is the Great Lakes area, is really important to me too. So I spent a lot of time up there. So yeah.
Well, I want to have you tell us a little bit. You're going to be doing a song called "Don't Speak" next.
Yes.
And it's also your upcoming release of a music video. You want to tell us about that a little bit?
Sure. I mean, first of all, all of my music has always sort of been about storytelling or has some purpose for myself or others, and I think, being a survivor of, both sexual and physical violence, I really wanted to start having that conversation through music. And it's difficult because it's very sensitive and people are not talking about it. As a matter of fact, most people are taught to not talk about it. It's very taboo. It's very, and so I started out thinking about how, I really needed folks in my circle to know that you're not alone. And a statistic came out when I was working on the song that talked about 3 out of 5 Indigenous women are sexually or physically violated before the age of 18. 80% of the perpetrators are non-native. And so I was like, wow, that's such a compelling statistic. So I had 7 women sitting around my kitchen island, and we were having a conversation, and I just, I certainly don't feel obligated to answer, but I'm just curious out of the 7 women that are in this circle. And I've known many of these women for my whole life, and not a single woman in the room kept her hand down. So it made me realize that, wow, not only
they were
all of them, all
were,
7 out of 7 women
Interesting.
had experienced sexual or physical violence before the age of 18. And I think that it was just, I needed to take that in and somehow develop some medicinal thought for it. And I really thought the song is called "Don't Speak," which is sort of the opposite of, what you want the intent to be. I want people to feel uncomfortable a little. I want people to have the conversation. And I think not just for Indigenous women, but all women, but particularly for Indigenous women, being, so vulnerable to sexual and physical violence. And so the missing and murdered Indigenous women efforts, or missing and murdered Indigenous relatives, those efforts are very important to me. So I worked with a production company in Madison, Paradigm, and also Backflip, and both of them helped me develop a very beautiful music video that really celebrates the survival of 4 different types of violence. So we needed to sit down and talk about what those areas really were. And of course, there's so many different scenarios, but we took the 4 top. One is a veteran scenario, or a woman in the military. Another is a college student. We have children. My granddaughters are featured in the video, and then we have sort of the domestic violence scenario. And so it's a storyline within the fabric of my song "Don't Speak." But the very end is the most powerful. Is that, I am not alone, and you are not alone, and we need the world to know that it's okay to talk about. As a matter of fact, it's really important to talk about, and the only way we make a difference in not just providing services for survivors, but we want to provide opportunity for prevention. And so we're working with a foundation, Grey Wolf Foundation, to develop a campaign to raise funds to make a bigger impact, and we're calling that Impact Change. So I'm excited. The music video comes out on August 25th.
Wow, that's incredible.
That's really exciting.
We're going to hear a sneak peek of the song.
You are, and what's exciting about this is I have never played this acoustically.
Oh.
So this is something I've never done. This song is very powerful and near and dear to me. So this is the first time that I've ever...
But you guys were practicing it a little
We
bit.
were.
It was good. So you're ready.
Okay.
It was
So,
good.
this is sort of... And also, just to preface, I had lost my voice a couple of weeks ago. So every now and then there's a little crack in my voice. So Facebook folks that know me, know sometimes that's the essence of Kelly Jackson. I get a little Etta James and
yes,
are in
I
there.
heard
Today
that
it's
last night.
particularly strong. So
Yes, after your singing last night.
that's
All
right. Yes.
Well, everybody, Kelly Jackson, we are doing a world premiere of this song on Waupaca Local Live.
And it's,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's
We're very honored.
don't speak.
Don't speak.
The clock on the wall doesn't move at all. There's dark place inside. Feel I should hide. Lost inside, and I can't define my own mind. I can't recognize. She cries in the dark, shadows in her thoughts. Shame overcomes what can be undone. Cold sweats, torn flesh, lost innocence, my independence. Don't speak, don't cry, don't ask, don't try. It's so you can do to get by. Don't think, don't breathe, don't live indiscriminately. It's what we do to get by. It's how we survive. Takes all that I am to stand. It takes the strength of 1,000 women to remind me I'm not alone, I'm not alone, I'm not alone, I'm not alone, I am not alone. I'm a statistic, political position. I'm a prisoner of my shame. I'm hope, I'm you, I'm strong, I'm true. I'm worth the value of all I do. I'm a woman you can turn to. I'll speak, I'll cry, I'll shout, I'll fly. And I never will deny. I'll live, I'll thrive, I'll give, I'll try. I'm strong enough to survive. It's what keeps me alive. You're not alone, you're not alone, you're not alone. You're not alone, you are not alone. You're not alone, you are not alone.
I just kept thinking of my granddaughter when you were singing that, and you talked about your granddaughters in the video, and that's beautiful and helpful and sad and
Yes.
many things.
I know, yeah. It's when I saw the girl, where I had been on set and the girls were getting ready, they were going out to watch the other actors. And they're not actors, they're actual survivors. But they built a stage. It was a room, like with a bed and a table, but the room tipped all the way backwards. So everything would fall down and, you know, sort of like this
Cool idea,
chaos of
yeah.
life when you're a victim of, you know, that sort of trauma. And so my girls were getting ready and they watched one of my friends tip back and they're like, I thought, oh, they're not going to want to do that. And the director came up and he said, so girls, you want to do that? They're like, yay! When do we get to do it? And then they're trying to get them to be serious. Like, this is very serious. Like, pretend that Noko is really mad at you. And so then the girls would look at me like kind of scared. And then, of course, I couldn't. Like, I would smile. I'd be like, they're like, oh. So it was an interesting production.
Theater experience,
Yes,
for sure.
absolutely.
So, well, I want to ask you something kind of upbeat a little bit. So tell us about the when you have fans, like last night I know you had fans there and they come and talk to you afterwards. What's the craziest fan response you've ever had at a gig?
Oh,
Somebody
boy.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. You know, the greatest experiences that I really have had are when I've had a lot of women come up to me
when I was performing Spirit of a Woman that would say things like, I really love your song, What If? It was like life-changing. I was like trying to think about what I wanted to do in the future, and I really wanted to open this bakery, and I listened to your song, and I just I decided today's the day. I'm gonna quit my job and open up a bakery, and so my mother and I did that. This is a story a woman was telling me, and I thought, oh my goodness, wow, that's very, very amazing and inspiring. And so it's sort of that. And I also had, when I was performing other songs where people come up and then they have their own relatable story, it makes me realize that it's everyone's own perception, and the gift of music is not just for me, but for me to share,
Right.
that others will have and bring something to that story.
Well, and you never really know what the effect your song is going to have on someone, but if somebody's going to change their life because that was their tipping point, hearing a song, that must feel very gratifying.
And you hope that a bakery worked out, right?
I hope so, yes. If you're listening, I really hope things went well.
Well, what was your favorite gig ever? Do you have one favorite gig in your memory that you just maybe earlier on, or?
I don't know what my favorite, I have a couple of favorites. I guess my favorite would be, I opened for the Indigo Girls.
Oh, wow.
Where?
In Madison at the Overture Center.
Oh, nice.
And I was very green, like I really had never been on a stage like that before. And the sound guy was a little frustrated with me because I really didn't know how or what to, how to, explain what I needed. And of course now I'm a pro at it, so I send my stage plot and my line list and it's all good. But it's a very good learning experience. But also that experience taught me the value of being okay when things fall apart, because it was a moment where I forgot the words to one of my songs.
Did you have a band with you, or were you?
Did.
Okay. So what happened then? How do you handle a mistake when?
And exactly, and I just made up new ones.
Good for you.
And nobody knew my song anyway, so I was sweating it. But everyone was there to see the Indigo Girls, and as long as I just kept the song going, it really didn't
How
matter.
was that opening up for a big group? Were the people pretty receptive and kind?
Oh
in
goodness,
Madison, I
yes,
suppose?
certainly.
Yes.
I think that's always been a really great experience. But I have to be honest too, my most valuable experiences have been very intimate settings like this right now. There's just a couple of people, you're able to talk, and sometimes it's just sitting around and sharing music, like just with other musicians. So, and then being able to share it with other folks who have a great appreciation, which is partly why last night was such a thrill. Everyone watching yesterday was very much paying attention to the music. And we play a lot of outside venues where folks are kind of all, maybe a couple of chairs facing you, but there's lots. It was very, very clear that they were really putting a lot of pressure. This is about, you're going to entertain us.
What are you going to do for us?
Yeah.
Let's see.
It makes for such a better show because you really feel like, okay, there's love there, and we're going to have fun with this. And so you certainly love to have audiences that are engaged and excited to see you.
Well, I think you're really developing a following, because it was a very big crowd for one of our events, and it was
I can't wait to come back. I told you guys I got to run around Waupaca a little today, and I've never been here. So it reminds me a lot of home, since I'm from Lac du Flambeau, Wisconsin. The reservation is, covered in lakes and trees, and so I was able to spend some time in the woods and jumped into a lake today, and it really
Good day
was
for swimming.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Good for you.
So shout out to Tony. I love you. Thank you for being such a wonderful host. I really enjoyed my visit, and of course all of you guys for bringing me here. I guess the experience has really been altogether wonderful. So I am actually going to hold you guys to that. I cannot wait to come back and visit.
That guy in the audience might want to book you.
There we go.
He's our music booking guy.
All right.
So.
Do we have time for another question, or do we need to get to
I
the
think
next?
we need
Indigenous Girls Rock Camp, did you?
Yeah, we just
Yes.
want to have a mention of that.
Okay.
And I
Can you
just
tell
want to
us what
mention
that
we are starting a rock and roll school here in Waupaca, so
Great.
maybe we can talk offline about just some tips and tricks.
Yeah, what about this?
Because I've heard of this Indigenous Girls Rock Camp. I've heard of it, yes.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Indigenous Girls Rock Camp is an organization that myself and Danielle Yancey out of Madison, she's from Menominee Nation, really wanted to develop a program that helped build sort of this team building, lifting as we climb, and do it through music. And so we had worked with Madison Girls Rock Camp, which is a program that's offered in the area in which we live, but we realized this program's not available to Indigenous communities. And so we started Indigenous Girls Rock Camp, IGRC, and the camp caters to girls ages 8 to 18. We teach them how to play a musical instrument, and they write an original song and they perform for a major music venue in their communities. And so, keeping in mind they're learning to play an instrument in a week.
Very
So,
exciting.
Yeah.
you know,
Oh,
they
it's a
might learn
week-long
a
camp.
couple chords
Okay.
or whatever.
Right.
We've done it as short as 3 days too. We've done a micro stuff. So it's amazing when you see a little girl that's like 8 or 9 years old and she's
Yeah.
holding a bass guitar that's bigger than she is, and she's like, you know, and then like gets out on the stage. She's so brave. She's like, you know, how you doing, Madison? You know, it's just the most glorious feeling ever. So yeah, definitely take a look at Indigenous Girls Rock Camp. We have a website available. We're a relatively small nonprofit organization, but we are growing, and we have partnered with a lot of other kind of girls rock or school programs that hopefully to explore some stronger partners so that we can bring the
Right.
program into other communities.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's
and I
really
would
great.
say that it's just hard to find anything like that in rural areas too, you know, so it's
Exactly,
it's tough.
yeah.
And so we have the Waupaca Arts Hub here. I'm going to put a plug in, but it's, you know, it's slow going getting it started. We've got great families involved, but you know, to do all those pieces, to put that together and make it quality and make it safe for kids is
Absolutely.
huge.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, what's your last song going to be, dear?
Yeah, you know. I'm going to look.
I don't know
but
what
you-
it's
you-
not. Oh, it's Ghost.
It's Ghost.
Ghost?
Can you, what's that about?
All right.
So yes, so Ghost is a song, Renditions of the Soul, my second album. You'll see that it has a little darker side. It has, you know, we touch on physical and sexual violence. We talk about, you know, sort of the challenges of relationships. We talk about the journey through addiction. Ghost is really an intergenerational addiction song. So it really focuses on my father and my brother. And then, of course, my father's father. So, you know, having that trail of addiction, I felt like it was worth exploring, you know, how me as an individual is impacted by that. How do I have to self-reflect so that I recognize this as an intergenerational possibility? And quite frankly, you know, it's not just Indigenous people. I think,
Right.
especially small
Addiction,
communities, it's
yeah.
something that
It's
happens
huge
through
here.
families. If you know, something that can be passed from generation to generation,
Yes.
and it's a very difficult challenge. And it is not just a physical; it is a medical. You know, essentially, your body becomes a different. It can be even you know, like I mentioned, intergenerational, but it can be something that can be treated, and we have to think of it that way as a community in order to make change. And so this song Ghost is really about, you know, being afraid when you have that relative that truly has, you know, is really lost. Sometimes you feel like you're talking to a ghost. So that's what this is about.
All right, well, bless
All right,
it,
everybody.
right.
Kelly Jackson singing Ghost, and thank you very much for coming.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much.
You're
Again, I
welcome.
want to thank Waupaca Live. This has been a great opportunity, and you know, participating yesterday in the event. And again, I can't wait to come back. So.
All right.
Way yeah, oh, way yeah, doesn't really care where he's headed. Half in the bottle and half on the warpath. He lived his life as if he lived in the past. But if you listen, you can still hear his voice. It echoes hollowly through his little boy. His little boy is all grown up too. Well, and he walks alone just like you used to do. Well, I'm talking to the ghost of a dead man. I'm hoping for my daddy's acceptance. I'm walking with the ghost of a dead man. He's living a life of redemption. Daddy taught him how to live on his own. A traveling man who never had a home. Half in the bottle and half on the warpath. He lived his life as if he lived in the past. But if you listen, you can still hear his voice. It echoes hollowly through his little boy. His little boy is all grown up too. Well, and he walks alone just like you used to do. He's walking with the ghost of a dead man. He's hoping for his daddy's acceptance. He's talking to the ghost of a dead man. He's living a life of redemption. It is the poison that lives in us, passed down for generations. Well, I know 'cause my eyes are open. I just keep praying and I just keep hoping that I'm not walking with the ghost of a dead man. That I'm not hoping for my daddy's acceptance. That I'm not walking with the ghost of a dead man. I'm just living a life of redemption. Daddy, open up your eyes and see. Well, I need you to be there for me. Well, I know 'cause my eyes are open. I just keep praying and I just keep hoping that I'm not walking with the ghost of a dead man. That I'm not hoping for my daddy's acceptance. That I'm not talking to the ghost of a dead man. I'm just living a life of redemption. Way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way. 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 Oh. Thank you.